This boat sails beautifully, survey looks clean, and the insurer still says no. Not because it's old, but because one design choice quietly makes it uninsurable. If you're over 50, this is the mistake that doesn't show up at the dock. It shows up when you apply for insurance. Today, we'll look at 7 sailboat design types insurers still trust, even when the boat is 40 years old. Let's take a moment and look at the boat you're about to buy, or the one you already own, and see how many of these insurance-friendly traits it actually has. If your boat has a full or long keel, you can breathe easier. This is one of the most reliable design traits that helps older boats remain insurable. These keels run along much of the waterline and are often integrated into a wine glass hull shape. They provide strong directional stability, reduce broaching, and tolerate minor groundings better than modern fin keels. On the underwriting side, this design is often considered lower risk, not because it's classic, but because historical claim data offshore and in heavy weather tends to be lower. Loads are spread gradually, ballast sits low, and failures are rarely sudden. By contrast, bolt-on fin keels on older boats raise more questions, especially around keel bolt corrosion or keel-to-hull joint fatigue. A good example is the Westsail 32. It tracks well without constant autopilot use, handles light groundings, and holds value when properly maintained. Many owners report successful insurance approvals even at an advanced age. Boats over 40 years old are always harder to insure. But full keel designs are often treated as heritage boats, provided a current marine survey supports an agreed value policy. If your boat has a full or long keel, drop the model in the comments. It's interesting to see how many of these are still sailing with active insurance. Beyond keel length, encapsulated keel construction is another major advantage when insuring an older sailboat. Here, the ballast is cast directly into the hull and fully enclosed in fiberglass, with no exposed keel bolts. And that matters, because keel bolts are one of the most serious long-term risk points on aging boats. Encapsulated keels spread grounding loads along the hull instead of concentrating them at a single joint. They reduce the chance of catastrophic keel failure and eliminate the keel-to-hull joint, a major insurer red flag. Full keel designs from builders like Island Packet are often viewed favorably for offshore policies for exactly this reason. Light groundings are less likely to cause structural damage. Surveys are still required. Insurers will look for delamination, moisture ingress, or ballast corrosion, especially with iron ballast. But on well-maintained fiberglass boats from the 1970s and 1980s, encapsulated lead keels tend to present fewer unknowns. And fewer unknowns make older boats easier to insure. This channel regularly breaks down why some older boats still pass insurance. Subscribe if you want fewer surprises after the survey. Now look just aft of the keel. If the boat has a Skeg-hung rudder, that's another design trait that often helps older boats stay insurable. The rudder is supported by a skeg extending from the hull, full or partial, which acts as a shield against debris, minor groundings, and collisions. By absorbing impact loads, the skeg reduces stress on the rudder stock, one of the most common failure points on aging boats. Compared to free-hanging spade rudders, steering failure after impact is far less likely. That predictability is why Skeg-hung rudders have long been favored for offshore and heavy weather sailing, and why insurers tend to view them as lower risk. Spade rudders on older boats often raise concerns around shaft fatigue and sudden failure. Skeg-hung systems may require more routine maintenance, but underwriters generally prefer predictable wear over catastrophic loss. The Tiana 37 is a good example. Its combination of a full keel and Skeg-hung rudder helps keep it insurable even at advanced age. This is the kind of detail that only shows up when paperwork starts, not when the boat is tied to the dock. If you want to see which boats, beyond the Tiana 37, are consistently approved despite their age, take a look at other older designs that still insure well in this previous video. Here's your quick look. The next trait isn't obvious at the dock. It's something designers calculate on paper: moderate to heavy displacement with a higher ballast ratio. This combination improves stability and heavy weather behavior, which is why older boats built this way are often easier to insure. In the 30 to 40-foot range, heavy cruisers typically fall around 300 to 500 pounds per foot, with ballast ratios between 35 and 45%. When surveys confirm this, insurers tend to be more comfortable, even on older boats. These boats are less tender, recover more predictably from knockdowns, and carry sail with less structural stress. That translates into lower capsize risk, exactly what underwriters screen for. Lighter, high-performance designs often face more restrictions because they score less favorably on stability formulas. The Valiant 40 is a clear example. With roughly 590 pounds per foot and a ballast ratio near 36%, it often remains insurable at advanced age, assuming a clean survey. This isn't a guarantee on its own, but combined with full keels and Skeg-hung rudders, it creates a very insurance-friendly profile for older boats. One of the most visible parts of any sailboat is the rig, and when it is a traditional sloop or cutter, it often works in favor of older boats when it comes to insurance. These rigs place the mast farther forward and use conservative sail plans. A cutter adds a staysail, improving offshore versatility without overloading the rig. Compared to modern high-aspect designs, they are easier to balance in heavy weather and place less peak stress on standing rigging, reducing dismasting risk. In claim history, these rigs are easier to inspect and replace, show less fatigue over time, and carry a cleaner claim history. Very tall rigs, high sail area to displacement ratios, or unstayed rigs often raise red flags due to higher loads and less predictable failures. A clear example is the Hallberg Rassi 352. It carries a traditional masthead sloop rig with stout, often oversized standing rigging, and is frequently described in professional reviews as a traditional but very stout masthead rig. Condition still matters. Standing rigging over 15 years old usually requires inspection, and on boats over 25 years old, replacement is often key to securing better coverage. For you, which feels more trustworthy offshore, a conservative cutter rig or a modern high-aspect setup? Share the reasoning in the comments. Another critical factor, and the one most exposed to seawater, is the hull. When a boat has a solid fiberglass hull in critical areas, it often remains easier to insure, even as it ages. Many boats from the 1970s and 1980s were built with solid laminate hulls, with little or no core below the waterline. Deck structures may be cored, but the primary hull is solid. This construction handles groundings and minor collisions better, and is less prone to sudden structural failure. Insurers favor solid fiberglass because it presents fewer unknowns, lower risk of delamination, fewer long-term moisture issues, and simpler inspection and repair than aging cord hulls. That's why many classic designs, Tiana, Pacific Seacraft, Island Packet, Solid Below the Waterline, Contessa, and others, often remain insurable despite their age. By contrast, cord hulls using balsa or plywood are more likely to raise survey red flags, especially where water intrusion and core degradation are concerns. As always, maintenance matters. Regular inspection and timely repairs can significantly improve survey results and help secure better insurance terms on an older boat. The final feature on this list does more than help older sailboats remain insurable. It directly improves crew safety and comfort offshore. That feature is a center cockpit or pilot house design. A center cockpit reduces man-overboard risk and cockpit flooding by sitting farther from bow and stern waves, with a higher, better-sealed companionway. A layout insurers associate with fewer capsize and injury claims in heavy weather. Pilot house designs go a step further. An enclosed helm with good visibility, wipers, and heating reduces fatigue, improves decision-making, and allows safer watchkeeping in cold, wet, or low-visibility conditions. Offshore, where personal injury and liability make up a significant share of insurance risk, that matters. Classic designs like the Island Packet 38 or Hallberg Rossi 42 often benefit from this added protection, remaining attractive to insurers despite their age. As with any design, conditions still important. Surveys focus on cockpit drains, seals, and cockpit sole structure to avoid exclusions. When paired with a solid hull and proper ballast, these designs significantly improve insurability for well-maintained classics from the 1970s. Old sailboats don't become uninsurable because of age alone. They become uninsurable when design, structure, and maintenance stop making sense. The boats on this list share one thing: their choices age well, in storms, in surveys, and on insurance desks. If you understand why they're trusted, you'll choose more calmly and sail longer with fewer surprises. If you want to understand what quietly raises risk in the eyes of insurers, that breakdown is already on the channel. Here is for you.